Thursdays. I'm Nika Pasquale, the CEO and founder of UrbanRemedy, and this is the Living Summer Refresh program. And I'm excited to be a part of this program, and I'll let the other participants introduce themselves.
All right, I'll go first. If everyone can hear me, my name is Uriel Kame from urielkame.com. I'm chilling in my backyard with my two little dogs on the floor, so if you hear any barking, that's where that's coming from. And I'm really excited to share my wisdom with you guys and just entering the conversation with everyone.
Hi, my name is Lisa McCumsey. I'm the co-author of the newly launched book, The Vegan Cheat Sheet, which is right behind me. It's your plant-based guide to everyday eating, and I'm an unlikely vegan who absolutely loves the lifestyle, so I'm excited to share some tips with you.
Hi there. Should I go next?
Yep.
Hi everybody, I'm Jennifer Casetta. I am a clinical nutritionist, personal trainer, and third-degree black belt in Hapkido. Martial arts is a love, but I also know that food is the most important thing when it comes to health and wellness. So, excited for today.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth, and I'm a dietitian with Vega Team, and I'm super excited to be here talking with everyone about plant-based nutrition and how to fuel your Thursdays.
Hi everyone, I'm Allie from Zola, and I'm here today to talk to you guys about hydration and coconut water. We are acai juice and coconut water from Brazil and Thailand, respectively. Happy to be here.
Great. So we're going to start by doing I'm going to do a quick recipe for us, and it's a fruit smoothie, and it's a great smoothie if you have kids or people in your life that don't really eat enough greens like kale and spinach. And I'm an acupuncturist, and so I really believe in food as medicine. And so this smoothie actually doesn't have any protein powder or anything processed. It's totally plant and food-based. So I start with a chia gel, and all this is 2 tablespoons of chia seed and about 1.5 cups of water. And I don't know if you could see, but it creates a gel. It kind of sprouts the chia seeds so they're easier to digest, and it creates thickness. So we're going to put all of the chia gel into the blender. And this is super easy and super quick. And then we're going to do 1/2 cup of pineapple, 1/2 cup of blueberries, and the pineapple and the blueberries are both organic and they're frozen, but you can use fresh if you like. And then we're just going to throw in 2 dino kale leaves, and then 1/2 cup of spinach. And everything is organic. And I like to use a little bit of stevia, but a lot of people don't like stevia. So if you don't like stevia, obviously you can keep it out. I just do a couple drops of that just to add a little bit of sweetness. And then blend. And it's great if you have a Vitamix because it blends really fast. But if you don't have a Vitamix, everything should blend just fine with this recipe. So I'm just going to blend So it's super quick. It is full of antioxidants. The blueberries and the kale and the spinach have antioxidants. The kale and spinach also have chlorophyll and lots of disease-fighting properties. The pineapple is great for inflammation. The chia seeds are really high in omega-3 fatty acids, which are really important for overall health and wellness. And I think that's it. So it's a great smoothie. I make it for my son, who's 2 years old, and he loves it. And it's a great way, gives me to start your day, and it gives you a lot of energy. So that is the recipe. And then I guess we could just move on to our talking points. So I think the first thing we were going to talk about is we were each going to go over what our specialty is and what are the top 2 tips for watchers for today, creating optimal health. Do you want to start with that, Yuri?
Yeah, absolutely. So The number one tip that I have for anyone watching is, as you can see, this is a green smoothie that no longer exists. That's because I devoured it. And my number one tip for people, regardless of if they're plant-based or not, is really about adding more greens into their diet. I'm a huge fan of green juices because they're just a lot more easy to absorb for a lot of people with digestive issues and intestinal problems, which is pretty much everyone. The only downside to green juices or juicing in general is that there's no fiber. So you want to be careful with juicing. I wouldn't recommend juicing fruit, so you just don't get too much of an influx of sugar or fructose into your liver at once. That has some negative consequences. But I think for everyone, most people have a blender, and not everyone has a juicer. So I think just making a green smoothie like the one you just demonstrated is awesome. The one I just made earlier was dino kale, a young coconut, so the meat and water, one piece of celery, a pear, and some greens powder, and a little bit more water added to it, and just tremendous. I mean, I have a 2.5-year-old who loves these green smoothies as well, and that's just the way we've kind of raised our kids, is incorporating more greens from the get-go. So that's the first thing. The second thing is simply to get active. You know, as you can tell, I'm outside. I try to spend most of my time outdoors so I can just, you know, get off from my computer, play soccer with my son, get active, move around. And I think the combination of regular activity throughout the day and adding more greens into your diet is a huge, huge plus for anyone.
Great.
I'll go next. This is Lisa, the vegan cheat sheet author, and as I quickly mentioned before, I'm an unlikely vegan. I had no desire to give up all the things I loved, including cheese and ice cream. So I advocate going vegan, or at least stepping into the waters gradually, starting to eliminate some of the more egregious things in your diet, like which I believe to be dairy and steaks and things like that. So my advice is, if you're even vegan curious and you don't feel like going cold turkey, so to speak, immediately, just try eliminating things gradually and introducing a healthier lifestyle. Like Yuri, my second tip is also to be active, to get exercise. For me, that is absolutely critical for both my physical health and my mental and emotional health. So those are my 2 tips.
Jennifer, do you want to go next?
Sure. I love those tips so far. Green foods are excellent. Love my green smoothies too. And I think something just super basic for anyone around the country to start with would be never buy or eat a food that has high fructose corn syrup or trans fats in it. So partially hydrogenated oils or hydrogenated oils, however you want to pronounce it. It's a big red flashing light that you have a low quality food on hand, and simply choose foods that don't have that. So you're just eliminating junk food, pretty much. I mean, then you have healthier junk foods, but at least it's a step towards better nutrition. And number 2, absolutely movement. I was going to say the same. I would just say find something that you love to do, and it may be something totally random. So try different things. I found martial arts in my early 20s, and I was hooked immediately. And I think because of the benefits of the mind and body combined, it grasped me. It got my heart and my soul and my body. So find something like that that has the physical aspect, but also a mind. You know, whether it's meditation or a moving meditation, find something that speaks to you.
Those are all awesome tips. I love them. One of the biggest tips I always use is that to really focus on things that you're adding to your life rather than like what you're trying to cut out. When we focus on the things that we're trying to cut out, we start to think about them more, we start to crave them more. It's much better to really focus on what new foods can you add to your life. Have you ever had chia seeds? Have you ever had flax seeds? Have you ever tried dinosaur kale? Like focusing on those new foods that you can add into your life. And really the second one would be just to add at least one plant-based meal a day. So it could be breakfast, it could be a smoothie, it could be a plant-based oatmeal, or lunch you could do a big salad or a stir fry, and the same with dinner. just focusing on the things that you can add and then adding in that one plant-based meal a day will really give you all those phytonutrients, good healthy plant-based protein, a lot of fiber, great healthy fat, everything you really need to build optimal nutrition.
Elizabeth, I really love that point. That's an awesome point. I think being from Zola, obviously one of my biggest tips is staying hydrated throughout the day. Just it's kind of the best form of natural energy. So I would say for optimum health, always stay hydrated. If you're working out, if you're at your desk, it's just good regardless to always have water or something on hand like that. And my other kind of big tip I would think is really just to stay in tune with what your body is telling you. I try to really think about, what does my body need for fuel versus eating just for the sake of eating or, for the sake of being hungry. If you're feeling sluggish, maybe you need more water. If you're feeling really cold all the time, maybe you're lacking iron. So I just try to really keep in mind what my body's telling me.
Great. I think my 2 tips for today are, one is I always tell people when you're going to eat a meal, keep it really simple, because I notice with my patients, if I try to change somebody's diet too radically, people get really overwhelmed. So I always say, look at your plate or what you're eating and ask yourself a simple question. Is this food going to cleanse me or is it going to clog me? And foods that are cleansing are foods that are higher in water content, so basically all fruits and vegetables, whole grains. If you look at your plate and you have a big hunk of meat and some bread and cheese and potatoes, obviously that's a meal that's going to clog you. And if you choose to eat that kind of stuff, it's okay, but just make sure that you go back to eating foods that are whole foods that are high in nutrition. So foods that have a lot of color, purple, yellow, greens, those are the foods that tend to have the most antioxidants and phytonutrients and tend to be the best for you. And I think the other tip is similar to what you guys said, is exercise and movement. When we are still, our energy isn't flowing properly through our body. So any kind of exercise, whether it's yoga, walking, running, whatever really helps you to really reduce stress, I think is really great on many levels, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So our next talking point are what are our feelings on nutritional supplements versus food-based solutions. And I guess I'll answer that one first. I'm a big believer. I like nutritional supplements. I think sometimes they're really important. For example, if you're vegan, you really need to take a supplemental B12. So there are certain supplements that I think are great. I tend to move towards supplements that are food-based. So we have actually at UrbanRemedy a few different supplements that are food-based that are in a base of probiotics that are really wonderful. And in general, I really think it's better to get most everything that you can from your diet. And then there's a lot of excipients and fillers in different supplements, which are not that great for you. So if you take something that has magnesium stearate in it, for example, and you take it for 10 or 15 years, and you add up all that magnesium stearate that you were taking in a supplement, it's not so great for you. So it's just much better to do a plant-based supplement. That's my opinion. Do you want to keep going in a circle? Do you want to answer, Yuri, or does anybody else?
Yeah, I'll go. I mean, my point of view is pretty much very similar. For the most part, we should all be getting our nutrients from our food because that's the ultimate source of nutrition. And when you look at a lot of supplements, there are components of specific nutrients in our food. So let's say we want vitamin C, we take vitamin C, or we take vitamin C in the form of a multivitamin. But a lot of times we miss out on all those synergistic compounds that we've discovered some of them, but there's probably thousands of other brother and sister molecules, all those phytonutrients that are so important for absorption into the human body. So if you can't get everything through your food, at least look at a food-based multivitamin. And there's a couple ones that are really good out there. But again, if you're looking at the food label, it should say, like, if you're looking at the ingredient list, you should be seeing vitamin C from citrus fruit or acerola cherries, not as ascorbic acid, right? So there's a couple of things that you can look at on the ingredient list, but generally if it says from food, from different cultured bacteria, those are the types of multivitamins that are usually the best in terms of as close as possible to food in terms of the nutrient quality. So yeah.
I tend to be very, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say I agree with that 100%. I think also one other thing is if you are, like what you said, Yuri, about the ascorbic acid, you know, if you're taking a chemical-based supplement like vitamin C, or if you're taking a vitamin B that's made from coal tar or something like that, the kind of cellular resonance or energy of the thing that you're taking is very dense, and it doesn't have the properties and the cofactors that are created when you're taking something that was grown in organic soil and fertilized and grown with sunshine and has all the other cofactors. That is the kind of nutrition that you really want to eat, because that is the nutrition that really creates optimal health, rather than a supplement that's filled with just chemical-based nutrients.
Well, the way I tend to describe this is like ascorbic acid is like the roof of your house, and taking ascorbic acid, assuming it's vitamin C, is saying the roof of your house is the same thing as your house, which it's not. It's just one component, and so you're missing out on everything else. And that's just kind of a quick analogy people can use to think about it.
I like that analogy.
Yeah, those are really great points. I've learned a lot about nutrition in those couple of seconds there. I tend to be very forgetful when it comes to supplements. I have bottles of things that go unused. As a vegan, I agree that B12 is very important, so I try to take that religiously. But I do believe that you can get all of your nutrients, aside from B12, from a vegan diet, but you have to be very conscientious. You can't subsist on French fries and potato chips, just like you shouldn't ever subsist on meat and potatoes. Eat a well-rounded diet of fruits and vegetables and grains and beans and nuts and seeds, and I think you could do a pretty good job of getting the nutrients you need. So that's pretty much my strategy.
I'll go. I definitely use supplements with my clients, but just like everybody said, try and use the highest quality supplements you can find. I remember being in a room with Dr. Andrew Weil, and he was asked if you were on a deserted island, what would be, and you could only take one supplement, what would it be? And I remember him saying omega-3 fatty acids. So fish oil supplements, especially for the average American who has a diet high in inflammatory fats coming from vegetable oils and junk food, an omega-3 supplement would be really, really great. Again, highest quality that you can find.
I definitely agree to get food mostly from whole foods, but if you are feeling like if you're working with any intolerances or allergies and you're really cutting huge food groups out of your diet, or if you are shifting to an entirely plant-based diet, there are some things that you may find that you want to supplement. And of course, Yuri had great recommendations for what kinds of supplements to be looking for, really making sure that if you are getting a supplement, you can definitely call the manufacturer, ask how it's processed, where are they sourcing all the vitamins and minerals from. And if they're a transparent company, they should be able to answer those questions for you. So if it's not right on the label, dig a little deeper into it and find the answers to that. Because if you put it into your body, then you should know what exactly it is.
Definitely, and I totally agree about using plant-based supplements if you are going to use supplements at all. I do use biotin, and I like that because I think that I don't get enough iron personally. And I think supplements they can be really good for people whose lifestyles are really on the go. If you don't have time to sit down, and if you're working like very late hours, you don't have time to sit down and plan out your meals and really think about all the different food groups for each meal. A supplement can be really useful for that.
Definitely. And I think one other point is, there's certain people that are dealing with certain illnesses or certain imbalances, and sometimes the amount of the specific food that you would need to eat to get that nutrient is impossible. So sometimes it's really important to take a supplement in a higher dosage. One example would be if you travel a lot and you're exposing yourself to a lot of radiation because you're on the airplane for a really long time. if you take a green tea supplement, we have one at UrbanRemedy, and it's in a little tincture form. And if you take 1 teaspoon of that, it's equivalent to about 40 cups of green tea, and it's in a base of probiotics. And that will help neutralize all of the radiation from, say, New York to San Francisco. Whereas you wouldn't want to sit on the airplane and drink, 40 cups of green tea. So I think there is definitely a place for really good supplements out there. All right, so our next is, what are the top 2 items on our do not eat list and why? Does anybody want to start with that one?
I'll take that one for sure. For me, wheat and dairy, hands down. So I know a lot of vegans who are proud of being vegan, but their diet subsists of bread, pastas, and cereals. And that's a far cry from a vegan who is more vegetable and kind of fruit-based. And, wheat, let's just call it gluten. Gluten is obviously very problematic for human digestion. So let's kind of, look away at, kind of moving away from bread and pastas that are even from whole wheat, because if you look at my argument is, is kind of like, from an evolutionary time scale, the point at which grains were introduced into human consumption compared to when we first inhabited the Earth represents 0.004% of our time on this planet. And from the time it takes for things to evolve and our body to adapt, that's a very, very, very short amount of time. And that's probably one of the reasons why we're seeing so many people diagnosed. I think it's like 1% of people now who are diagnosed with celiac, and there's many, many more who are undiagnosed. And then you have issues like IBS, IBD, simple food intolerances, sensitivities. A lot of it is, autoimmune disorders attributed to, there's 190 different autoimmune disorders that have been attributed to gluten consumption. And so gluten's very problematic for the human body. And so I really get people to think about removing the breads, at least the gluten-based stuff, and replacing that with quinoa, amaranth, buckwheat. If you're baking, there's some really, really amazing things you can do with almond flour. It's unbelievable for baking. So I think, moving away from our indoctrination of bread as being so necessary for our life is, I think, a much better thing for most people. And secondly, dairy. I really don't care what people say about, raw milk is better than pasteurized. Sure, maybe that's true. But the reality is that when you look at the micro and macronutrient breakdown of cow's milk, it's great for cows. But for human consumption, there's 4 times more protein in cow's milk than there is human breast milk. And that's fine for baby cows because they're growing to like a ton in about a year. But for human consumption, it's really out of whack when we compare it to breast milk. And then you have all this, all sorts of things like antibiotics or hormones that are put into various dairy sources, pasteurized, homogenization. So, most people have a problem with the casein or the lactose. I really believe that we're much better off without it, at least minimize it significantly. And the whole calcium, protein, again, the whole propaganda around that is another topic, but I think wheat and dairy are probably 2 things most people are better off without.
Hi, those are great points, Yuri. My 2 are soda. I think even diet soda has absolutely no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Sugared sodas, diet sodas, they're full of chemicals and additives. And if you're drinking sugar soda, I believe it's just wasted calories. So I liken them to poison, basically. I'm a huge fan of water and seltzer and adding lemon and cucumbers and things like that if I want a carbonation fix. The other thing I avoid as much as I possibly can is fried foods. Again, it's easy to be a fat, unhealthy vegan by eating French fries and potato chips and things like that. And they're full of fat, again, empty calories, and I really try to steer clear of those 2 things.
Lisa, I'm going to have to agree with you on pretty much like all of the above. Soda is definitely high on my list of foods that I really try to cut out, especially diet soda. But another one for me personally is beer. I just never, ever feel good after having any beer. So even though some of it's so delicious, I just really try to avoid it, definitely.
I guess my two would be just nothing that's not created in a lab. So no artificial sweeteners, no artificial colors, no artificial flavors, and then no hydrogenated oils, just because they're so bad for heart health and just for weight management. Definitely avoiding the hydrogenated oils and artificial.
Great points, everybody. My two that I personally don't eat would be any. I don't eat animals except for wild caught fish, so I guess that would include all factory farmed animals. So I don't necessarily have to push that on all my clients, but if you are going to eat animals, I would always go for, again, the best quality, grass-fed, pasture-raised. And fish, that goes for fish too. I only eat wild fish, no farm-raised fish for many reasons. And then the second thing would be processed soy. Is there someone coming up on the screen? I'm not sure what's going on there. Processed soy, edamame great. Fermented soy foods are great for their natural probiotics. But as far as soy protein isolate and all those different things that are kind of formed into these Franken soy foods and promoted as health foods, I think they can be endocrine disruptors and just not good for us.
Great. Yeah, that was what I agree with everything that everybody said, and I was going to add soy as well. Dairy and soy in Chinese medicine it has two qualities that make it something that you want to stay away from. One is that they're very cold in temperature and very damp producing. So when you're eating dairy and you're eating soy, it's very difficult for you to digest it, along with the fact that most soy is GMO. And so I'm really into staying away from GMO foods and not eating anything that's GMO. But the dairy and the soy definitely will create more of a sluggish environment in your body. So I would say those are two big ones to stay away from, as well as most processed foods. So the more whole foods that we eat, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, sprouts, seeds, nuts, those are the most health promoting foods out there. So all of the other stuff should be eaten in really, really small quantities, and alcohol should be taken in very small quantities if you drink it at all.
Darn, are you sure about that?
No. I mean, actually they say in Chinese medicine if you drink one shot a day, it's really good for your circulation. The heat of it is very good to get things moving in your body, but I think most people don't do that. So let's see. So the next talking point is, sharing some things about drinks, and it could be a story, it could be a cure, or something like that. Anything related to drinks, since it's Thirsty Thursday. And I'll start. I developed UrbanRemedy, and it's a juice cleanse company along with juices and raw snacks and foods. I started doing that because I was doing retreats with my patients where I would do live raw food, juicing, yoga, meditation, all that kind of stuff. And I started seeing really, really amazing benefits in my patients that were doing the retreats. People that would, for example, somebody had really severe fibromyalgia that was very debilitating. And after about 4 days of changing her diet radically and drinking the juices, she was 80% better. So she had been living with this pain for many, many years, and then all of a sudden she was 80% pain-free. And so for me, that was a huge eye-opener when I saw this happening with people. So I really got into juicing and really studying more the food as medicine aspect of Chinese medicine. So another great example is I had a patient who had really high blood pressure, but she was having bad side effects from her medication that she was taking. And I had her start drinking beet juice every day. So she would drink about a quarter to a half a cup of beet juice, plain or mixed with something else, and it immediately took her blood pressure down to a normal level. So for me, it's really exciting to see these results because you can get such great results just using food as medicine. Celery juice is really good for relaxing the nervous system. Cucumber juice is really great for your skin and hair because it has silica, and actually cucumber juice does have fiber in it as well. and so do apples. So I love to use juices as much as possible as cures, and I think it's fun to do and it tastes good, and it's much better because you don't have all the side effects of taking pharmaceuticals.
I'll go next, guys. Just to lighten it up a little bit, I love juicing, I love healthy foods, but I think it also is okay to have a cocktail once in a while. So when I work with clients around that, I would suggest to use clean liquors on your weekends when you want to let the hair down, vodka, tequila, with a very clean mixer like a club soda, a lime, a lemon, anything like that. Let your hair down once in a while. It's okay to have some fun, and you can do it and still be healthy.
And then you have your green juice in the morning, and then you feel better in the morning too.
Yes. And coconut water.
Or coconut water. Nature's hangover cure for sure.
Yes, I love that. It's part of my mental health program to have a little drink every now and then or every night. But I'm also a huge believer in the smoothie. I think you can fill your blender with so many great nutritional things, as Nika showed us early on, and get a powerhouse drink that is just jam-packed with nutrition. So I try to make myself a smoothie every day.
Yeah, I'm gonna add one. Like, obviously, the juicing and the smoothies are awesome. The one thing I really caution people with is to consider, like, a lot of these like packaged or pasteurized juices found in the stores, like Odwalla or whatever other brands you find at Starbucks. I think a lot of people get confused into believing that just because they're green, they're good for you. But if you turn them over and look at the food label, you'll see the amount of sugar that's in there. And that's a bit of an issue because a lot of those juices are pasteurized, so they've lost a lot of their kind of raw nutrition benefits, and they're just loaded with sugar. So, if you're trying to make healthier decisions, like if you go to Starbucks, instead of having a mocha frappuccino with like 1,000 calories in it, maybe have just a black coffee or a decaf coffee or something. If you have to get something chilled, like I don't even know what the calorie counts are on a bunch of their stuff, but I'm sure a lot of it is added sweetness and stuff. So just being more aware of stuff that is seemingly healthy, but is kind of deceiving. And I think a lot of times, if you look at the food labels, the ingredient list, they can be pretty helpful with that stuff. So yeah, and then obviously the stuff you guys mentioned earlier with the diet sodas. I mean, that stuff is criminal. I don't even know how it's in the marketplace.
I totally know what you're saying, Yuri, because a lot of those juices that are on the market definitely are high in sugar and lots of other ingredients that no one really thinks to check because they do seem very healthful. So obviously coconut water for me is a really big one these days. We also have acai juice, but our coconut water is pretty much the closest you can get to cracking open a coconut and just sticking in a straw. It's super hydrating. It's all natural. It has 5 essential electrolytes that the body needs. So that's something that I really love to kind of drink if I'm not drinking water. And then today I'd like to talk a little bit just about our newest product, espresso, coconut water with espresso, and it's equivalent to 2 shots of espresso in this can. So we like to call it hydration with motivation. So I thought it'd be nice to show you guys for Thirsty Thursday. But it's like launching as we speak, so definitely look out for it in stores. It's awesome. It's like hydrating and also kind of giving you a little bit of energy as well.
I'm going to go find that like tomorrow. That sounds awesome. I guess the only thing I would add is like when making smoothies, I really try to make sure that there's some source of protein in it, and I'm not using a juice in it. If I definitely throw whole fruit into it just to get all that fiber and that natural sweetness. But to kind of balance out the more sugar in a smoothie, I definitely want to have some healthy fats and some protein. So like the chia seeds were great in that. Also like a minimally processed protein powder like Vega Team. I've been using that for 6 or so years and absolutely loving it. And then I often find that clients have a really hard time drinking a lot of water because they just don't like the taste of water. So I often encourage people to slice up lemon, lime, even throw like sliced up strawberries or cantaloupe or watermelon in water. Just a little bit of fruit in that water can really infuse it with an awesome flavor. Or finding a electrolyte replacement that doesn't have any artificials in it can also help people just give it a different taste and then add some more electrolytes. Or like the coconut water is a great additional flavor add to regular water.
Good. Well, those are all really good tips, and I think it is really important to be really conscious about drinking high sugar juices. I think that there are a lot of them out there, and you know, when you're drinking that, you might as well just be drinking sugar water, or a soda is, you know, it can be equivalent to some of those juices that are out there that claim to be green juices, and you look at the sugar content and they have, you know, like 40 grams of sugar, and you don't want to give that to your children, and you probably don't want to take that yourself. So, you know, drinking cold, unpasteurized juice is definitely the way to go if you're going to do that. And especially if you have diabetes or any kind of, you know, issues with sugar, you definitely want to stick to the green juices and not drink any of the juices with the added fruits in them, is a really good tip. Are there any other points or any other closing statements that anybody wants to make today?
I'll just jump in here. I mean, there's so many. I think nutrition is kind of as complex as the universe is, and there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of conflicting points of views from, you know, seeming experts. And the tricky, like the tricky thing is, like, you can find research to back up pretty much any statement. So if you say low carb is good, high carb is bad, whatever, I mean, you can find science to support that. And I think when a lot of this stuff gets out in the media, it confuses people. So they see one study that says this, they see a study that says fish oil is, you know, increases your risk of prostate cancer by 70-odd% if you're a man. You know, all of a sudden all these men now are reconsidering their use of fish oil, but they tend to forget all those thousands of other studies that show the benefits of fish oil. So nutrition is a very, very, very confusing world, and I think it's something that the school system really needs to incorporate at a very, very young age. At least in, you know, this is, you know, very utopian type thinking, but I think if kids, even at home, could start learning the basics of how to read food labels, what is food, what's in food, and starting to develop a better knowledge of how their body works and then how food operates with all that, I think we'd be a lot better off. I mean, I think it's interesting that the two areas that we're in kind of most shambles with in respect to our society, health and finances, are the two subjects we don't learn anything about in school unless you pursue those kind of studies. So I think this is a very fundamental issue that needs to be addressed on a bigger level for, you know, for everyone to really, you know, grasp stuff better.
I think that's a great point. I mean, I know there's, like, in Texas, the level of type 2 diabetes that kids get just through their diet is through the roof. It's really scary, and it is so important to educate our children about eating properly. You know, and I think finances are a big part of it for some people, because if you could go to McDonald's and buy, you know, a Happy Meal for like $1.99, why are you gonna? And you don't have a lot of money. You know, some people that they feel like that's their only option out there, which it isn't. But it is really important that we start having healthy food in the schools, and it is happening definitely where I live. You know, they started incorporating salad bars in schools and much healthier snacks and stuff like that. And I think, you know, and there's different levels of nutrition. There's, you know, the regular nutritionists that study, you know, the USDA guide for nutrition, and then there is definitely more of a cutting edge nutritional viewpoint out there. So I think for everybody, it's just really important to do the education for yourself and make decisions for yourself, and look around and look at both sides of everything, and then just try to make as informed decision as you can, and do what feels really right for you.
And aside from the nutrition aspect, for me, food is like a drug. It makes or breaks how I feel on any given day. I eat too much sugar, I get a food hangover. I drink too much wine, I get a real hangover. It's I personally feel so much better on a vegan diet. I feel clean, I feel energized, and I do a lot of exercise. So find what works for you, but just know that the way you feel makes all of this completely worthwhile.
That's a great point. It's so true. And I think everybody is their own barometer. So you can feel, you know, you could go out there and eat, you know, hamburgers and fries and soda and see how you feel, and then go out there and drink some healthy green juice, eat whole foods, whole grains, sprouts, nuts, and seeds, and see how you feel. And I guarantee most people will feel a lot better mentally, physically, and spiritually. So that's some good motivation.
One of our favorite mottos along that line is, what you eat should make you want to conquer the world, not take a nap. And I like to think about that at most meals and how that food's going to make me feel, and how that food makes me feel is probably different than that food makes you feel. We kind of all need to find that way that makes us feel the best.
Exactly.
I would just close with some general advice. That all is great, and listen to your body, but also educate yourself. So just by listening to this panel of experts today, learning great tips like that, but also picking up books and reading on health and nutrition. If you want to live a long, high-quality life, you got to do the work. So educate yourself.
Great point. All right, I guess we are bringing this to a close now, so thank you everyone so much. That was great, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.